So, hi everyone, I'm Mohit here. I've been leading perfumery.co.in, which is, we call it Project Perfumery India, because we started as a project.
I think you need just hold it a little closer.
Yep. So we started as a project. When we say project, that means bunch of people came together. Mostly what we say as the user interaction. So initial set of customers is what we acquired from social media. And from there, here we are doing, I think, maximum number of perfumes in India right now, as per the catalog and the traction we get. So I would request everyone in this room to just get on your phone and install Perfumery app so that you would get a live working that how we actually doing it, getting to the next level of user engagement. If you do that, we have 2 fragrances on every table. Everyone loves perfume, so do enjoy them. The gifts are already there. Get the app so that you get the whole feel of it.
Social selling 101. Yeah? So how many of you heard of Perfumery? Perfumery.com. Good. I'm sure it's going to be 100% by the end of this session. Right? Now, Abhishek, we just had another panel member who was talking about plant-based meat.
Yeah.
So
hello friends, my name is Abhishek Sinha. I represent Good Dot, which is India's largest plant-based meat company. So essentially, we are driven by a singular cause that there is a better and a cruelty-free way to enjoy your meat. As an ex-meat eater, I realize that people eat meat primarily for taste. So if you are able to match the taste and better the nutrition, there is a good alternative to a lot of meat eaters. So happy to be here and happy to share whatever I know in our journey at Good Dot. Thank you.
So a question here. Company's name is Good Dot. How many of you have heard of Good Dot? 2, 3, 3.
1 here. 4.
Good. 4. Okay. Who is that Indian sports personality you will associate with Good Dot? Virat Kohli. He is a personality, yes. Sorry? With Good Dot. John Abraham, no. Let me give you a hint. Yeah. I don't blame you if you don't remember the name. Girls will definitely remember the name. Neeraj Chopra, yes. So Neeraj Chopra is his brand ambassador, and Aishwarya, about you.
Hi everyone, this is Aishwarya this side. I'm the co-founder at Hype. Hype, in a very 6-word nanotale, we are building Shopify for creators. We enable creators to turn into creatorpreneurs. We're sort of decentralizing the retail. It's a very simple thought. If I were to ask in this room, how many of you feel that your next vacation is going to be a function of an SOTC or a Cox and King sending you a package versus you seeing one of your friends, relative, people that you follow, checking out the stories and saying that, hey, I need to go to Mykonos, I need to go to Maldives, right? Anyone who feels that his next vacation is going to come out of an SOTC package? Great. So that's what we do. The idea is we enable creators. We're living in a funny world, right? Where we say that, hey, creators are good advocators. They help me mold my opinion, right? Brands want to come up and talk to them that, hey, why don't you talk about a product? But the funny thing is, why can't they sell the products as well? And that's where Hype comes in. It's a no-code tech platform which enables creators to set up their entire shops under 60 seconds. And they can sell any product which is out there available for all the brands that are associated with Hype. And in turn, they are becoming the next Amazon. So what Hype is enabling creators to launch the next wave of next 1 million Amazons and Flipkarts in the country, where every creator will get the profit sharing of what marketplaces were enjoying previously because there was no tech enabling them to do that. That's what we do.
Perfect. Now, I'm fortunate enough because I belong to a relic of an old era, and hence I've seen the entire life cycle between, when we just had word of mouth as a method of communication to today being what is known as the creator's economy, right? Today is called the creator's economy. So when you look at YouTube, you look at Instagram, it's all about creation. So what we're going to do now over the next 20, 30 minutes is this, and this is where I need your help. So what we will discuss with them would be in terms of do you really need social commerce, Instagram, etc., to drive your business as a D2C brand? number one. Number two, if it is needed, at what stage of business do we need it? And number three, what are the pitfalls that you as a DTC brand owner, a newbie, would want to look forward to, right? These three are good enough, or do you want to add some more aspect to it? We shall discover as we go along, right? So let's ask them, and the responses that we need from you should be it should be a function of your experience of having gone through this whole life cycle, right? Because that's where the genuineness comes in, and I'm sure you'll do justice to that. So let's address the first question in terms of does a D2C brand need social commerce or Instagram or any such channels as a method of engaging with people?
The answer is yes. I mean, everyone would agree to it. I'll tell you why. Because let's talk about the buyer life cycle. When a user has to make up his mind to buy a product that he has never seen physically.
Yeah.
Or in our category where people have to test a perfume, right? You have bought a perfume after sniffing it, maybe at the mall, maybe at the airport. But online, our product was so challenging that how to sell it. People would ask, how does it smell? How to explain them. So social really helped us because how we started as a bunch of people selling on Facebook, right? I used to be the admin, and then we came up with a model where we could have a Shopify store, right? So we knew that customers are there, and they were already there at social, because when people don't know what they want to buy, they will discuss it with friends, discuss it. Nowadays, Facebook, you have group for everything. Even for morning jogging, you have a group, right? Say your Bandra Jogging Club. So that's where our Instagram, Facebook, YouTube comes into the picture, where you are telling your part of story, that why you should buy a product. At the same time, your customers are also talking about it. So it's word of mouth, as he said, but here it's digital word of mouth, where you are creating that amplification factor. We still live in a herd community. Everyone have a herd mentality. We say that. But in a good way, for e-commerce, it is good. Because there are 10 people talking about a product, automatically they will attract 1,000 more. And those 1,000 will attract 10,000 more. So it amplifies by time. So the whole social word of mouth or digital word of mouth we talk about is much faster than how it used to be during the Silk Route, or maybe during 1800s or 1900s. So that would be my answer to it. If your product has that quality, let it go to people, let them test it. But then in initial phase, you would get to know. If you get a bad feedback, then definitely you have to be open for that as well and fix your product and then go back again to people. That's what I would say, why it is important. It lets you validate your product as well.
I agree, and it's kind of been backed by a lot of studies which talks about how peer-reviewed information is much more trusted than the brand-led information, right? So if a brand says this is A, vis-a-vis someone, a close friend of yours saying this is A, you tend to trust the close friend. But over a period of time, influencers have become a four-lettered word in a certain sense, right? And probably there's a reason to it. Would you want to kind of elucidate on that and again answer the primary question in terms of whether it is an important aspect, a mandatory aspect, or is it a nice to have?
I would say it was important. Now it is mandatory. Because think about it, what we are trying to do in business. We are trying to sell a product or service or an idea or an experience. We have to sell. Whom are we going to sell? We are going to sell to consumers. So what essentially happens, all of us, if we go 10, 15 years back in our lifetime, when we will shop, we'll go to the marketplace, the physical marketplace. So think about it, how much time any of you spend in say a Reliance or a off retail shop, and how much time you spend on your mobile. It's disproportionate, right? All of us spend much more attention and time on our mobile or our systems or computers. So it's very clearly that it is mandatory that if you really want to scale up and really want to do well in the business, you have to go online. Our story right now, it's a recent transition to D2C, and we are getting great response. We are sold, you can imagine, like a lot of you may not know about Good Dot, but we have sold in just 4 years, every day we are selling 100,000 meals every day, but in retail spaces. Now that thing is picking up online. And we are seeing from the metros, there's a huge response. So to answer to your question, it is mandatory. All of us spend most of our time. Our consumers spend most of the time online. And thereby, influencers are a great means where you can grab attention. There are only so many. Suppose an Abhishek Sinha sitting here and talking to you, or a Virat Kohli or a Neeraj Chopra talking to you will make a sea of a difference. So therein the influencer branding and influencer marketing comes through. Of course, as we go along in our panel discussion, whether it's right for you or whether the timing is right for you for influencer marketing, and that too at what scale of influencer marketing, we can discuss that in detail.
Sure.
Thank you.
I mean, that's good to know that, it's now mandatory and that it has to be part of your overall, customer engagement strategy. So Ashwarya, but you come in from a very different angle. You come in from an angle wherein you are allowing creators to create their own store and sell products. Now, are these products theirs or are these products third-party products?
Before I answer this, Abhishek, Mohit, you guys are comfortable selling things on marketplaces, right? You have no averse to any marketplaces.
We actually were against it because that is what led me to have my own Shopify store.
Yeah.
But now coming to a second phase of the business, I think it's good to leverage the space we are getting to get the impression.
Clear question. As a D2C brand, all of us are very okay on selling on marketplaces, which means we're very okay in sharing certain margins of a sale with a marketplace. Right? That's if I draw that as a ground line, right?
In return for volumes.
Not every marketplace would give you like high volumes on day one, right? You build on, right? You build a brand out there. It's an exercise. But I'm saying as a concept, all of us are okay with selling on marketplace, right?
Right.
Now, when you talked about, right? So think of it this way, right? That what influencers are doing, or what any creator tech is doing, is nothing different than saying that we are techifying the human behavior, right? All of us in the room, right, before the pandemic hit, what we were doing, we were going out to malls where we were carrying a friend of ours or a fiance of ours or family member of ours who were giving us opinions about whether this cloth looks good on us, whether this shoes good look on us, or things like that, right? What has happened is over the last 3 years, our adoption, like Abhishek said, that our adoption to looking at digital content has increased so much that right from my eating behavior to my political opinions to where do I want to travel, to which pajamas I want to sleep in, to what is the home decor that I need, is largely influenced by everything that I'm seeing on the content, right? If I watch something on Netflix, I like it, I want to own it. If I like something on a YouTube, if Tanmay is wearing a very cool t-shirt, I want to own it, right? Maybe even if I don't want that right now, right? So the point is that first we have to understand that creator tech or an influencer marketing is not saying that, hey, this is a new channel of sales or something has to be thought through. It's just saying, let's just think this through. This is first techifying a human psychology, that people believe in people. Opinions are shared with people, and people have faith in people who they look like godlike or probably appreciate their thought and point of view, right? Now, this is where sort of hype comes in between, saying that, hey, we have given two baselines. One, as a brand, I'm okay with working marketplaces and sharing my revenues with them. B, I'm okay with understanding the fact that yes, influencers are no different creeds or categories. These are just people between me and you who, rather than I talking to 5 people, they can talk to 500 people and influence their patterns and their consumer behavior at one go, right? So I'm saying now, as a brand, you believe that influencers can talk and make your opinion. If somebody who's an artist, dancer, he can wear some really cool shoes and talk about that how those shoes are comfortable when he's dancing. If somebody who's, let's say Virat Kohli, or Neeraj Chopra, who are very big advocates of veganism, can talk about that, hey, as a part of my veganism, but still maintaining my variety in diet, I am switching to these plant-based meat options, right? And a lot of people who look up to saying that, hey, Virat has turned vegan, I need to turn vegan. Neeraj has turned vegan, and even then he's an Olympic medalist, I can do that as well, right? So there's a sense of association there, right? So these are the baselines. I'm saying when everything is there, when creators are creating the distribution, they're creating the opinion, they're creating the impulse, why not sales? Why does the last point of conversion has to happen through a single holder of a marketplace basis ki theek hai baki sara kaam aap kar do, dukaan meri chalegi? Why can't these creators be the point of sale as well? Why can't these creators be where if they have driven the entire thing? Like imagine like you going out and taking a
office for rent in Mumbai, there's a broker, there's a JLL, CBRE involved, right? They show you around the place, they tell you about everything CBD, they show you 10 different properties, they tell you why this property is better, it has greenery, it has parkings, it has lift space and everything. And right at the end point, you say, thank you, boss, now you'll deal directly with the landlord. That's not how it happens in the business world. If somebody has been doing that for you, appreciate that he's lived that part. So I'm saying, now this is where sort of we have come in. We've created the technology where creators can sort of now launch their own storefronts and act as the marketplaces to their creators. Now, for creators to obviously sell, these brands are now empaneled with us, and it's like a 60-second process for them to launch their own stores. And by that virtue, anything now that they're talking about, their entire vibe, their entire view of how they appear in front of their own people. There's a lot of people that they say, okay, I want to wear this shirt, I want to wear this sneakers, I want to eat what you're eating, right? And now we are giving a chance for creators to make that happen, because obviously if any of the D2C brands out there who have activated an Instagram shop know that it's about a 12-click process before a consumer can actually purchase and redirection to 5 different platforms, right? We have got that down to 3 clicks with enabling creators to do that, right? And on top of that, we're giving creators a chance to keep the margins which brand were, like I said, which I maintained the baseline, which brands were already giving to the marketplace. But on top of that, now here's the catch. Any of you, and I think this is one of the largest chatter that I hear in any influencer marketing discussion groups, right? Which is about, yaar, influencer marketing में पैसा तो डालते हैं यार, conversions कहाँ हैं? यार, what do I see the output, right? So problem is because we are the ones who have been treating them as virtual billboards. We never wanted to look at any sales. We wanted to कि यार, आप 10 लाख followers हैं, आप 10,000 रुपए ले लो, एक post डाल दो. You are cool, you are awesome, you have a popular opinion, talk about me. Right? We have never, and then we say that you do these coupon codes and everything. Imagine, it takes about 7 clicks from an influencer's post who tags you as a brand handle in his caption for a consumer to even arrive at your product PDP page. That takes about 7 clicks. Imagine in a world where 30-second content is disrupted the long form video, you're expecting somebody to take 7 clicks to arrive at your PDP page. It has to be see it, like it, buy it. So that's where the things are coming from, right? That's where the creators, that's where the decentralization is coming, right? Somebody who's owning the opinion, somebody who's owning the process, let him make the transactions happen. And we enable the brands, the entire order management solutions. I think all the Vinculums, the Unicommerce, the EasyGo, all of them who are today, sort of, presenting themselves here, we have made sure that we have integrated with all of them, enabling brands that their order management solutions also not affected, right? So I think in terms of how we look at the problem is, like if the creators are at the front of creating an impulse and opinion, they should be at the front of fulfilling the transaction and reaping the benefits, right? If marketplaces have to sell, let them create their own audience, no? Let them put out their own features, let them put out their own perks, and let consumer decide that do I want to influence my opinion by going onto an Amazon and finding a product, or going onto a CJO's profile and probably discovering where did he get this khaki jacket from. Then let the consumer decide that. But don't let consumer be fooled that no, I love the jacket on CJO because he's wearing a khaki one, but I want to make sure the profits of these are shared with a larger marketplace out there. That's where we have a problem with, and that's where we want to decentralize the entire retail.
So, such an impassioned, presentation from him. If I give a 10-minute break, I think everyone's going to create a profile on Hyped and, start selling stuff. Right?
Exactly. Everyone in this room is a creator. I think second thing that you talked about, that influencer is a 4-letter word. Everyone in this room is a creator. Doesn't mean that you have to have 100K followers, right? I mean, anyone in this room, the guy who's sitting in front of me, the shoes that he's wearing, the t-shirt that he's wearing, there might be 5 of his friends who would want to buy that. Why not?
You're an instant hero.
Why can't he have a store? Why do we want to define influencer? And that's what the problem you talked about the second one, that influencers become like a 4 or 5 letter word.
Hang on. We'll solve one problem at a time. Right? So that's an excellent, so I think there's no doubt about it, right? I mean, it should be part of your customer engagement strategy. This entire concept around social. I mean, leave aside all the bookish stuff, leave aside all the glamour behind it. Just take off all the bells and whistles. But brass tacks at a very basic level, you need a social commerce strategy as a key component of your customer engagement strategy. Now, the question is, obviously, Aishwarya was kind of almost hinting that forget the website, forget the marketplace, you should start with this. I understand where he's coming from, but then that's where my question is. Uh, in the other room, in the other track, I was moderating a session on how to create a good website. Now suddenly I'm here, now really wondering whether that was a smart thing to do. Right? Now, should one do a website first and then go social, or do social first, then do website, or do it together? Okay, before you answer, how many of you have a website? Okay, just keep your hands on. And how many of you have a social commerce presence as well? And did you do that together or one after the other? One after the other, together? So it's been a mix. What's your take?
So I'll take basically why you're creating a website, right, to acquire customers. While social is another layer where you're actually pre-qualifying a lead and then getting them to your store. So that is where, the whole, I'm not going to explain funnels here, but what I'll tell you, there are direct monetization.
So where did you appear first, on the website or on Instagram?
So I started my first website in 2012, probably when the whole fashion and new trend started. People started to get online to buy clothes, shoes. So that was the time. So I started with website first, and then that was like my first website. And not every time your first attempt succeeds. So my actual website started in 2016, but that was after I started my YouTube. So in between, I started YouTube seeing, okay, I used to talk to a lot of customers. I mean, everyone does. The initial set of customers are those which, define your future journey. So you have to be very careful, whom you're pitching it to. Whether that qualifies as a customer, it's not like, people go and sell out to everyone. That should not happen. There is a very common thing which is called audience. People create segments in email. So same happens in real world. When you're deciding your audience, you have to, define it, whom I'm selling it to. I gave perfumes to everyone here. Maybe 5 or 10 or 15 of them would actually, be stuck to it. That's the hook to it, right? So mainly I would say social helps you to get the desired audience. Then you get them to website and stop wasting CPC.
Right. Website first or a social property first?
I think it depends exactly upon that's as far as I'm concerned.
So what did you do at Good Dot?
First, it was simultaneous. The website, of course, because eventually people will check you out, they'll Google you. So basically, website has to be there, whether it's functional, transactional.
For the discovery part.
That's a different part. But of course, you also need to have social, presence. But, coming to the core part, because it was discussed about influencer marketing. See, I'll give you an analogy, like suppose you are at an eye level with an entire crowd. And all of us, every crowd member has got some product to sell, right? So how does a particular, say, person selling on the 50th row be visible with their product? So these influencers, as an analogy, are, these tall people or kind of a hill where on their shoulders you can stand and you can show your product. So it differentiates from the crowd. Of course, the gradation of influencers and the height is different. All of us know maybe Irfan Khan, Siska LED, Hema Malini, Kentaro. So these guys, they define, if influencer marketing, first of all, you have to decide whether you need it, whether you can afford it, what scale you can afford, and then how do you project that particular influencer along with your product. So if all these things are in place, it will work. Otherwise, it will be a cost center. So coming, as far as we are concerned, we had a great traction increase after Neeraj Chopra. Now Virat Kohli and Anushka has also invested in another company called Blue Tribe. So, and again, Ritesh and Janelia Deshmukh, they have come up with Imagine Meets. So the influencers are entering this space, and this space awareness is going to grow. So my thought is, now there are two parts to your answer. First of all, I think website is important. What kind of website you can grow along the way, social media presence should be there. And influencer marketing works, provided you have all the ticks in the right boxes.
Right. And Aishwarya, I think, you're very, very keen in trying to make sure that the ball moves very quickly from pure influencer validation to influencer commerce, right? That's where the rubber hits the road.
Yes.
That's when the money is coming. That's when it flows into the bottom line, and that's when it really makes sense in a certain sense.
So I'm not saying that it only makes sense there. I'm saying that's just a natural progression.
No, agreed. Now, my question to you is, so how does one do it? Does one start at the basics by creating a group of influencers who will then validate the brand? Or can you directly get into that point wherein you start commerce?
Okay. So I think the part of the process will always remain see it, like it, and then buy it, right? You cannot go from a like it, and then see it, right? So I think the brand needs to exist first as a brand. It needs to have its vision and mission statement. Then get the content creators who somewhere align with that vision statement and say that, okay, you know what? Virat wants to talk about veganism. Neeraj wants to talk about veganism. I'm creating a brand which is plant-based meat. The vision sort of aligns. He's the right spokesperson to talk about it. So you do that. And on top of that, you enable an impulse buying process where you reward the creator for facilitating that sale. That's where you complete the cycle. And within this process, you also get the right to enjoy the data that, okay, with this creator being engaged, what is the kind of matrix look like? I've invested some X amount of rupees, where up till now, I was being only told that you'll only get an impression count. That's about it. I want to know how many people liked and saw that content. Out of that, how many people ended up showing interest and arriving at the PDP page. From there, how many people actually added to the cart and how many people purchased. Because that's what at the end of the day, my marketing cost has to look like. There's an earned media value as well.
So forgive me for interrupting here, but do you have celebrities on your platform?
So we currently have the top 20 content creators in the country as our investors who would then start be activating the stores very soon. This is Bhuvan Bam's first investment in startups. We have Tanmay Bhatt, we have Samir Raina, Dhwani Bhanushali, who's one of the largest face of T-Series music. Then we have MythPad, which is one of the largest YouTube gaming creator in the country. We have, along these lines, we have Papa CJ as an investor, we have Apur Gupta as an investor. Such, we've got about 20 odd top creators of the country as an investors. Along with that, we have all the creator enabling ecosystems. Your Monk Entertainments, Oprah's, iPlex, White River Media's, Barcode, all the agencies, OMLs, their founders and their CEOs as an investors. Because collectively, the opinion is very strong. Creators, and I'll just take one more minute to talk about one thing. As a D2C brand, you have three advents of selling. One is direct website with IDFA blocks and Google cookie blockers. Those ROASs have been completely tossed up. The second way was marketplaces, where we know what Cloudtail and the e-carts of the world are doing to the brands, where you're left to single percentage margins. So now making sure your largest part of budget spends, which is happening on influencer marketing, is giving you a realized ROIs where you can see the impact is becoming very, very important. And hence this is a win-win solution where the same amount of percentages that you were ready to share with marketplaces now are enjoyed by the creators. So you don't have a change in business strategy, but you get to, so there's a win-win between you, the creator, and the data and the entire consumer experience there.
So here is a question for all of you. Suppose you had Virat Kohli and Neeraj Chopra talking about plant-based meat, and then you had someone like Mohit talk about plant-based meat. Who would you believe? Hand on heart. Who would you believe? Come on, I said no sitting quiet. Sorry? Yeah, so I mean, the more I hear.
The louder one.
Absolutely. Is that because he's sitting here? He's giving the perfume.
The reason is Virat would be selling 100 other things. Mohit is I can relate to.
Yep.
And you have reasons to believe that Mohit is more genuine. Yep. Not that Virat is not. So, but it's just that in the context, you would rather believe a Mohit talking about plant-based meat than a celebrity because you have reasons to believe that he is honest to it. Does that reflect in reality?
Well, yes, because I'll tell you. I was yesterday here. People had a similar session yesterday, and there were questions. What is your influencer marketing budget? How much should I spend on influencer marketing? So I would say that is actually defying the whole concept of social selling. When you're paying it, you are actually asking someone to push your products. That is what pushes your customers away. That's what I would say. So what your customers are your influencers, like every one of you is an influencer. I pretty much know whoever is carrying my product home would recommend product to 2 more people, and the product speaks. So if you have confidence on product, you should reach out to customers, and then those customers would be the influencers. While there are direct monetization, like how we spoke, what we do is we directly benefit customer. Like, why should I spend 40% on Google Ads when I can give 40% off to my existing customers, right? That is a better thing to do. And second thing would be indirect monetization. That is where the branding comes into the picture, the visibility comes into the picture. I mean, if you have that budget, the branding budget, then definitely, you can hire Virat or XYZ to just show. It's the old thing. We used to see Jackie Shroff posters with aftershaves, with colognes, because he reflects masculinity and perfumes in a way men use it to express that, female uses to express femininity. So that goes with every product. You have to know the product, the pulse of the audience, what are their buying decision, and what moment he might snap away. So mainly understanding your customer, understanding your product is first thing. And how you're reaching out, you have to keep trying. You have to keep talking to people. People will give you suggestions. They will criticize as well. So main thing is being open to it, and at the end of the day, you have to sit down and see which thing actually worked well, and this is how you wanted it to work, and go with that. That's what I would say. Everything you cannot learn before starting. You have to jump into the pit to get your hands dirty. That's how we say in business. So I think that is what is the key. Understanding the audience. If you know your audience well, you know your product well, because buyer may ask you anything. And sometimes I get weird questions from, I mean, it's a question, it's a valid question. That's why it's a question. So you have to be very open and then come up with something which is, which is groundbreaking. And never look at what everyone else is doing, because, not every brand succeed. Like selling on marketplace has an advantage after you're like 2 or 3 years old, because that time people know you, and those people are browsing a shirt and they see my perfume and they add to cart as well. So that is where marketplaces help you. And initially, when you go on a marketplace, there are thousands of brands like you. So the probability goes down. You could say same is on Google as well. But then how you are aligning your organic SEO, how we say it, how you're pulling in the content, and then social. Now there are 2 arms to marketing, how we call it internally, legacy and digital. Legacy comes into the picture where you have your customers, you are trying to retain them. So you're using emailers, right? You're using Google. So Google people search your name and come direct to you. Second is the digital, which is the new wave which we have seen after the COVID thing, right? So that is influencer marketing. Then your YouTube channel. Now entrepreneurs are creating content and selling, right? Because I've seen in a lot of shows where they say if you have created something, you're the best person to sell it. With that note, I would answer it.
Right. Now, the point that I was coming to was, and this is a question for you, Aishwarya, right? Now, let's assume that there are 10 folks in this room who do justice to a particular brand and its philosophy, right? Can a D2C brand take advantage of them, create a community, and start building their social initiative or the social commerce initiative? Or do they have to wait for the likes of a Bhuvan Ram and the likes of Bhuvan Ram and 5 others to actually start building their social commerce initiative? Can they start with this, or do they necessarily have to do that? Because this is where it gets complex, right? Not everyone will have the resources or the wherewithal to rope in the pretty expensive influencers.
I think that's a very valid question, and it's a very simple answer. You don't need to start from the top, right? I mean, you can always grow yourself to that. You need to grow more micro, you need to grow more niche. I can talk about hundreds of YouTubers in tier 3, tier 4 cities who you wouldn't have even heard of, getting about more than 1 million views on their videos, doing very basic niche things, right? Understanding, there's a YouTuber who talks about how to wear just Indian attire, dhoti kaise bante hain, normal, things in attire around this. There's somebody who's doing like the nani maa ke haath ke khana ka, the recipe channels, right? And there are millions of people learning that, right? So now if you are a very tier 4 say base city company which is making masalas, घर के बनाए नुस्खे and some masalas, right? You can team up with this YouTube creator who's very regional, who's not like a Bhuvan Bam or a Tanmay or anyone, but who's doing so much of regional content that your ethos will connect with that ethos, and the cost of engagement is not high, right? So it doesn't has to be that it has to be from a top-down approach. It has to be organic. It has to connect. That's the part.
So it has to be a very definitive part of your storytelling, and it has to be genuine.
Yes. Definitely.
These 2 aspects, I think, will take care of the engagement.
Yes, and I think we've seen call-outs, right? I don't want to take names, but we've seen Bollywood celebrities who've been talking about, that every skin is beautiful and you should not be, talking about fair skins and everything, right? And at that same point of time, they've been seen advertising in, fairness cream shoots, who've been
Correct.
called out that, dude, this is not your ethos. You were just talking about, tweeting about that every person is equal and every skin is beautiful, and now you're the one who's talking about a fairness cream product, right? How does that go together, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's changed. The game has changed. It's not about Akshay Kumar jumping from like a tens and thousands of feet from a airplane and then say thumbs up peenie hai, right? It's about that, dude, when I'm with friends, no, thumbs up peenie mein jo kick aati na yaar, wo Pepsi mein nahi aati. That's the kind of organic conversation people are looking for, and which leads to an adoption. मैं पीऊंगा उसके बाद जरूरी thumbs up, चाहे मेरे को मन भी नहीं कर रहा होगा तो भी मन कराएगा, rather than seeing an Akshay Kumar jumping from a plane and doing that.
I'm glad he wasn't speaking about this yesterday, because we had the Pepsi-sponsored dinner night yesterday. Oh, just pulling your leg, Aishwarya. So it's pretty intense, right? Any questions so far? Yes, at the extreme back. Yes, sir. Your name and your brand that you're associated with, and your question.
Hi, I'm Shaurya. I'm from HUL. My question is more regarding the guide rails in this ecosystem of social commerce. Like, as an influencer, let's say I probably recommend a skin cream, okay, that and my followers end up consuming it or applying it to their skin, and it leads to a burn or a skin infection. Is there an ecosystem, or is there any law that probably a customer can complain against me as an influencer? Is there any system that I am responsible for what I'm influencing a person? And is it required?
You're consulting HUL.
So I think there definitely are. I think one of the recent laws that we've seen is that anything which is a paid content has to be tagged and very clearly mention that this is a paid advertisement. That's the first step that has happened, right? Secondly, we've I think in recent past there have been numerous instances where if a brand has been identified of some being malpractices around the product or consumer health, any influential people who were associated in talking about that brands, I mean, to even the Bachchans, have been called upon that why were you associated with this brand and what was your integration there. So I think, yes, the ecosystem is becoming more cognizant. More creators are voicing their opinion that, hey, falana brand, please don't send out your PR packages. I don't connect with your theme. I don't connect with your ethos, and I don't want to be talking about this category of products as a whole. So I think it's a developing change, but yes, coming very fast, because right now, I mean, say, it's a pros and cons of being in this business, right? If you do something wrong, people remember the internet. So you will be called out. So I mean, people are very, very savvy of their social media presence as well. They don't want to be appearing hypocritic in terms of doing something today and talking entirely a different narrative on the other day, and both of them looking like an advertisement post.
But were you asking or pointing towards more of a legal liability than a procedural liability?
Exactly. My point is,
So is there a legal liability?
what responsibility legally does an influencer have? I might recommend a shoe, but if it causes, a problem for a pronating feet or something, right? Is there a legal system? Because where I'm coming from is eventually it's going to lead to lack of trust on the platform as well as the influencer.
Yeah. So
I can
think
delete the reviews that people spend on my page, and somebody with a 200 follower doesn't have the manpower or the muscle to probably influence my influencers or cause any harm to me.
So I wouldn't want to quote anything definitive on the legal part, but I can say that there is definitely a line. There is gray areas, right? So and you have to understand there is two ways, right? So when the whole episode with a popular noodle chain happened, right, for one of their elements, none of the people went after the influencers, because the challenge was that noodle making company had falsely advertised about a certain constituent of a particular product within their entire noodle package, which has got nothing, wherein any influencers cannot readily at any point of time say that, हाँ यार ये तो मेरे को पता था, but I was falsely advertising, right? But if you purposefully, in the light of knowledge, knowing that this is wrong, and let's say you talk about that, hey, I'm talking about a normal can of Coke and saying this does not have sugar, wherein the packaging says that it has sugar, and somebody says that, you know what, you were advertising it to me and you were pushing it out to me and hence I bought it, I'm pretty sure, right? No, and like I said, that I don't want to be quoted on any specific legal aspects of it, but I'm pretty sure that there have been recorded instances where people who come from powerful places with powerful opinion have been questioned their intent of doing that willfully.
But I think that's a very valid question that you asked, because both from a brand and a consumer perspective, that's an important, that's a very, very important point. But that's something I guess we all should kind of dig a little deep into and figure it out.
If I may, in this case, guys, there are certain, as he rightly pointed out, there are certain, we have your contract. In contract, there are fine prints. So all these influencers, many of them have these protective clauses, where they say that something which is, as he rightly pointed out, which is beyond my notice, so I cannot be held legally liable. A case can be filed, but nothing can be done in that regard. But definitely, if it is very apparent, then a case can be filed. So thereby, obligation is definitely there, but not to the extent what a lot of consumers expect. Because maybe the biggest influencer may not have adequate time. Like we have had cases in the past where, some of the housing scheme which turned out to be Ponzi schemes, and there were, brand ambassadors. So cases were filed against those celebrities. But I think those will not stand the test of court of law because they might not be aware. Suppose, think about it. If you are an influencer and a housing society comes and says that, you know what, I'll give you 1 crore, please advertise for me. And eventually they don't complete that, or they have taken the loan fraudulently from the bank, and eventually they have gone bankrupt. So morally, you're in the wrong, but legally you are safe. So it's a
contractual obligation.
It's a contractual obligation, and there are limits to it. Yeah.
So I would add the whole zest of influencer marketing is more like P2P or C2C, right? Where people are interacting. So there's no legal thing as such, a framework which is monitoring it, but Facebook keep changing or updating its policies. That is why, it's up to Facebook. वही सबका माई बाप है, उसका मन करेगा policy change कर लेगा. So you have to adhere with Facebook guidelines, and people have the right to report your, say, for example, I'm posting meat product which might not be suitable for a particular religion. They can go and report it. Why it's showing into my feed? That level of interaction is there, but there's nothing like, I posted a product and I'm not liable for it. Maximum Facebook will take it off. Nothing beyond that, unless and until it involves a lot of monetary thing.
I think I beg to differ on that. Creators are liable. Creators will be, if there are opportunities, like I said, that if it is happening willfully in the knowledge of it, that I was aware.
And if there's a commercial element
and
to it.
there's a commercial element, they will be held liable.
Correct.
But if it is something like I said, that where, like Abhishek mentioned, that it is beyond their capacity to have that knowledge of, because nobody is really doing a chemical test product or a chemical constituent or a chemical, conceptions of what the product looks like, and then talking about a product, right? So you're relying on the word, and then there are contracts to it that what you're sharing with me as the knowledge of today is you're doing it in the best of your knowledge, and you are indemnifying me that tomorrow if something goes wrong, if it is not what you have said, then I'm not liable because you in the best of your knowledge based on your, because when these celebrity endorsements happen, you have to understand they happen with brands. Like if you're talking about HUL, HUL would have got their lab reports, all sorts of, whatever the documentary necessities, evidences are required to talk about a product out there, right? There are FSSAI license in food, there are in cosmetic in every industry, right? So they come very clean with the kind of line of products. So there is checks and balances that have happened. And on top of that, indemnity. So I just beg to differ that it's just a Facebook can remove a post if it only appeals to a certain sect who says that why that ad is coming through. And I don't think that way. It's like really there, right? If you've done willfully something wrong.
Who does that? His question is who does that?
Yeah.
So I think there's a consumer code for it. Consumer will raise an opinion. Then when multiple people face similar problems, then you raise a stronger voice. The stronger the voice is, the quicker things move. That's how it works.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's what I think I started with that. Maybe we got into some other direction. Yeah. So, right, say I'm posting a review of a product. Tomorrow that company is sued for XYZ. I'm not liable for it.
That's why I say that if you were aware that this was wrong, but you willfully agreed to saying that in my knowledge of this is wrong, I'm still promoting it, you will be held accountable. But if the thing for which the company is being held is something which could have never been as a public view because it was so minuscule, it was so minute that this could have could have never come up in the public eye view of things, then yes, you would not be held accountable.
So let me do a parallel here. Replace Facebook with hype, right? Suppose you see one of your creators going off track, right? Would you exercise your judgment to block him or her?
So I think even through our platforms, for the kind of content which creators talk about, we adhere to all the policies as set out by the government in terms of the content.
So if need be, you will pull the plug.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's exactly what Mohit is talking about. But you're correct in your way in terms that everyone is liable end of the day. Anyone from Facebook here? Because you talked about Facebook, acting proactively. Let me tell you the story which happened 4 days back. You heard of Wordle? Heard of Nerdle? My post got blocked because it violated community standards. Guess what was it on? It's because I solved a Nerdle and posted it on Facebook. I'm still recovering from that shock. No, Nerdle is numbers. Yeah, no, word, nay, yeah. Let's not get there. Right? So, yeah, someone had a question here. Yes.
Oh, it's amazing, dude.
You stay there,
I
you stay
cannot even begin like how exciting that's going to be. We're working with 3 creators in India. I mean 3 developers in India who are creating these virtual influencers. But I think in India, it's because of the advent of metaverse. It's happening more. It'll start happening more fashionably very, very soon. But I think in US and UK, that has really, really picked up. And I think of the possibilities. You've removed the boundaries. Today for influencer marketing, you need to send out the clothes, you need to discuss the content, you need to script it out, you need to beg for their time and everything, right? Now all of those barriers are taken care of. It's virtual influencers. He could be doing about 1,000 things a day. So I think I'm very, very excited given how that we are already moving into Web3, we'll be moving into Metaverse. We're all talking about how virtual identities are going to be, to say it to the least, we are living in a Black Mirror episode every day. And I'm okay with it. I signed up. Unfortunately, I'm born in an age which this was supposed to happen. I cannot go back and change that. So might as well be at the head of the curve and know how to distribute my conscious ethics and know what is the good and the bad side of it. But yeah, coming back to you, very, very excited what's happening in the virtual influencer world. And I think it's just gonna, it's very nascent, but it's gonna spike up very, very, very soon.
So you said virtual influencers, that is VI. VI doesn't work. For all those who are in Vodafone will know out here. Yes, sir.
Hello, sir. It's Soham here from
Hi, sir.
Robotics. So my question is, currently the hype is regarding influencer marketing. Every single D2C brand is reaching out to the customers through influencer marketing. So what I feel is, an influencer, for example, who has a 50K followers on Instagram, and they are already connected with 15 odd brands in the same category. For example, if you take skincare, so if the same influencer is posting a different brand each week, and they have already done 15 brands, so even their followers know that brands will approach these influencers and they are going to post it. So how relevant is that for promotion, or it is just for brand awareness and not for sales conversions?
So you are asking whether it works or not?
It works, but what I think is you need to create a FOMO in the customer's mind that if you approached 15, 20 influencers, and then that will create a sales conversion, or else that's just relevant for the brand awareness purpose.
Does it work that way?
What's your take on that?
So,
That's my question.
so I can speak about the large influencers, the pan-India influencers. So normally, from both the celebrity as well as the brand perspective, there is a category exclusivity. So essentially, you don't pay till that line is signed, because essentially, first of all, brands have to choose their influencers very, very carefully. So as you rightly said, if there are some, celebrities or influencers who are endorsing similar category products or brand, you better avoid it. I think there is a loss of credibility. But when you go for that, there is a category exclusivity. So at least for the brand endorsement
For
period.
the celebrities, that's not the case. Category specific,
smaller,
they,
I think-
they associate with only one brand. But
Yes.
for example, smaller influencers
So I
on
think
Instagram.
there's no legal liability. Like we have had also smaller influencers endorsing our brand, but there no contract is signed. It's more or less just the payment for a post, and then you don't have a control over what they sign a competitive brand or not. So it's a risk you take, it's a call you take, and you study the different influencers. The brand should study different influencers, and you can customize the influencer as well as the branding as per your plan. So nothing stops you, or nothing stops them also.
Quickly to add there, I think it's a supply and demand curve, right? I mean, if you're talking about influencers talking about similar products, because that's the fact that there are too many D2C brands making the same product, right? So when you have, when there is no exclusivity in the ingredients and in terms of about the product, the same product being sold by multiple D2C brands, then why are we concerned about the influencers talking about similar products at different narratives, right? So if you have a niche in your product, you will find those niche creators who will talk about that niche problem and solve it in a niche content narrative. But if you have a similar product, then the content would look similar and the engagement would look similar. So it's from where to arrive, that if I'm doing the same thing which 100 other D2C brands are doing, then how do I expect that my content view to the journey would be very, very unique and I'll stand out what other 100 people have already not talked about.
So it's part of your differentiating strategy any which ways, because
Yeah.
unless and until you're a unique product in that category,
You cannot. I mean, then the content would be same only, no? Because the ingredients, the view, the application, the concern, everything is same. Then the result is same.
And also just to add to that, a lot of influencers take their social media handles very seriously. It's a mean of monetization.
Right.
So they are also quite careful about their credibility. There could be exceptions out there, but they also know, suppose I am a wellness cream or any other food product there. So they will be very careful not to onboard too frequently or competitive products. So normally it doesn't happen, but in exceptional case it may happen.
and I guess the same management jargon applies there. BS can take you to the top, but can't keep you there, right? So it just equalizes. Right? Okay, we'll take one last question before we get to the last segment. One more? Okay.
My question to Mr. Garg.
Hi.
As you said, what Hype is talking about, how is it different from affiliate marketing? And secondly, when we give a percentage to the marketplaces, they take care of logistics, RTOs, inventory management, warehousing, and all of that. Will your platform be doing that?
I think that's a brilliant question.
Yeah. First, I'll answer the affiliate marketing part. What's happening is in affiliate marketing is you're creating affiliate links. Brands has the onus of creating different affiliate links for different products. So now you have 10 brands, 100 SKUs, 100 different affiliate links. And as a creator, when I'm giving out an affiliate links, I'm telling you to become, my content is feeling like an advertisement to you, right? But when I go out and say that, hey, you know what? Just by the virtue of existing on Instagram, I'm not getting anything paid. But being as a content creator is a 24/7, 365 job for me. So you know what? You've been loving my vibe and you've been supporting me all around my journey. So here is a new start. I'm launching my own new business, right? This is my own new shop, right? Where I will try to curate experiences. I'll try to curate my recommendations. I'll try to curate my closet. And this is a business that I own, because anything that you do from here is a profit that will come to me, which will help me keep turning content, right? And this is where we differentiate when say that we're turning creators to creatorpreneurs. Like we're talking about entrepreneurs, that's what creators are trying to be. Like creators are turning into creatorpreneurs. So that's where it is different, because it's a function of an entity, a platform, a store which is owned by you. This is your property. You can customize it. You can put your domains. You can be www.aishwaryagarg.com, and the entire tech has been powered by Hype out there for you, right? This is the first part. The second part, where you talk about logistics and everything, right? So the way Hype work is that we have two-way marketplace. At the back end, we have all the brands who are empaneled with us. They get empaneled through all their different order management solutions, which is Vinculums, Unicommerce, EasyComs, the other integration of the world. And on the front, they've got creators who are launching their own stores. So as
We are a pure play tech platform. Think of us what Shopify did to D2C, we are doing to the creators, right? So when a consumer places the order, from there, the orders directly goes into the order management solution of the brand, and the brand takes care of the fulfillment logistics partnerships, because that's something that they're any which way is doing. We're not adding on to anybody's work. We're just decentralizing and making it direct. कंटेंट से जिसको पसंद आ रहा है वो कंटेंट क्रिएटर से खरीदे, ब्रांड को ऑर्डर मिल रहा है उसको सेल्स मिल रहा है. Brands were okay with sharing the commission to marketplace. Now they're sharing a commission to someone who's actively talking about it. You might, because by the virtue of this process, you might have paid the content creator to create the content once. But seeing that green tick, seeing that little earnings every day coming from every sale, makes him realize, oh, my audience is loving this. Let me reshare those links couple of more times. That guys, few pieces left, only left for next 24 hours, left for only 12 hours. Go buy this right now, right? Because that's a kick. No, that's like waking up and seeing your grow and Zerodha every morning and saying, "Aaj yaar thoda sa 1% stock pad gaya, maza aa gaya." So this is the money which they're making while they're sleeping. This is the money which they're making, which is rightfully should have always been there. But by the virtue of narratives being set, we've always been treating them as virtual billboards. So now this is the change that we are bringing.
So to answer your question, the supply and demand chain of the brand is intact. It's in place. That's not been being replaced. It's just that the front end this time is the creator entrepreneur or the creatorpreneur on Hyped, for example.
But there are different commissions for that. Now, when a marketplace is doing.
Let me complete here. So my point being, when you talk about a marketplace, let's assume you give them a 30%, but being a D2C brand, you will talk about 10% going to logistics, 5% going to RTOs, 3% going toward payment gateways and all of those. So at the end of the day, if you see the profit margins that the market gateways are doing and the audience that they're pulling, that is roughly around 8 to 10% if you boil it down to there. So when you say you want the same commission as the marketplace, you are doing lesser work, asking for the same work, which is, I feel, not the better part, but yeah.
So there are both the ways in which marketplaces engage. There are marketplaces who work on inventory model, wherein they would buy the entire inventory out of you, squeeze you out of your margins, keep them in their warehouse and put their own logistics firms out there. And there are pure aggregate models where you are as a seller buyer, they will just push out the orders into your order management solutions and you will have to take care of the. So if you end up paying a 40 or 45% to an Amazon, the logistics and fulfillment might be being done by them. If you end up paying just 10, 12, 15% to Amazon, then the logistics and fulfillment will be done by you, right? So nobody is not accounting for that cost, right? And I'm not saying that you give me about a 50% margin back to the creators, but end up doing logistics on your own. So the rules of the business remain. All I'm saying is the cost which is accounted for simply enabling a transaction, the margins which the marketplace ask only for enabling the transaction, for allowing you to click on a buy now button and giving you that order details, let creator do that. I've created a tech for them to do that and share that part of it with the creator.
Sorry, which firm do you represent, sir? Sorry? Toner?
Donier.
Okay, Donia. Okay.
What I see, what we are doing right now on Excel sheets, on tracking which influencer posted my product, how many clicks came. I think they are providing an automated solution for that, connecting all the dots together. This can be the game changer because it's exactly doing what need to be done.
Sure. So one last question, and before I come to a very critical component on which I need their inputs. Okay, guys. I hear a lot of noise. You're all welcome to join on stage.
If you want to use influencers for food, especially the grains and functional foods, this gender chef who want to use maybe YouTubers kind of thing, male or female, which one works in your experience?
For food?
Food, yeah.
So I say it's never either or. So, it's very important which influencer you're using for branding and which you are using for selling, right? As Mohit rightly pointed out, we have a lot of sales coming through, real life guys tasting our product and giving a feedback. So that can be either of the gender. But in terms of celebrities, it's just a brand visibility. So I would say for a food, I think women are a great source of spreading the word because they cook, they understand food. So we have had, a lot of chefs, especially in South India, Northeast India, where we have had some micro-influencers, creating some content for us, and we got a lot of traction from that.
How
So
does budgets work out? Like
so the budget
percentage?
varies. We can give maybe a 10,000 to someone, up to say in some crores to some of the largest celebrity. It just varies. If you go to a celebrity chef, it can be a
And
few lakhs.
if you come to beauty and personal care, if skin kind of thing, there is a distinction between male and female. If it is cosmetics, it is definitely the female category. So,
But even in food, I think a lot of women they relate a lot to a heartfelt review coming from a female person, because they cook, right? They have the understanding of food better. I'm not saying boys don't have, but I think it's a great marketing for a food company to really tap into women influencers, especially. Yeah.
So great. So we've kind of established that social commerce or influencer marketing is an important component of a D2C's growth story. And we also had a discussion in terms of when, as a D2C brand, one should focus on it. Now, we're convinced of all of that. We are also also got a sneak preview in terms of how do we escape the legal liability part of it. Coming to the last point, now we are all geared up. What are the loopholes, or what are the slippery slopes that D2C brands need to be very careful about when they embark on this journey? Very quickly, 30 seconds each.
Right. So when we are talking about everything being public out there on social media, so with good things come bad things as well. So you need to have a really proactive team, because order is delayed and suddenly you see a whole lot of comments, people commenting about their order. So you have to be really vigilant with what people are talking. So now you're doing social customer service or CSX on the social kind of thing. So if you have got that right, I don't think there's anything stopping you, and you can go full-fledged. So that is what I would say, you have to prepare it. That if you're doing a social campaign which might blow out, you get 10,000 orders, you have to be prepared that 1,000 complaints might also come because of a hiccup. So that is what is the the sliding slope, what we call here.
Sure. Abhishek.
I would say be wary of your runway, overspending, being over ambitious on celebrities or endorsement, that's one. So you have to decide your own runway. How do you go about it? Second, once there has to be a synergy in your brand story and the influencer, be it micro or major influencer you get. Third is, once you onboard an influencer, how do you promote that particular brand association? Again, that is also, one has to think it through before you actually go into influencer marketing. And finally, I would say that be true to your own brand, know your brand, and also associate with the right brand ambassador with the right story. If all of this thing is done, I think influencer marketing is a great tool to increase your sale, and you don't need a lot of money. If a carefully curated influencer set can give you much larger return than even a mega influencer deal. So this is what I would say.
Thank you so much. Aishwarya,
I
last
think
words.
Since Sijo asked about the loopholes, I would simply say that don't just fall for followerships. Look through your creators, understand the genuinity, understand their engagement rate, ask for things if you're not clear, ask that what is your male, female, what kind of demographics you have as an audience, because if you're engaging them on a paid manner, you have every right to understand what I'm getting into. So I think the loophole, because you specifically tell her that, should be that don't just look for the follower count, get to know your creator as much as you need to get to know your brand.
It's kind of PR as well. You're talking to all sort of influencers. That gives you a next level of engagement, because these influencers also talk to each other.
Fantastic. So I think it's all about keep telling your stories in a true manner. You'll definitely somehow find that cohort of people who will help you tell those stories in a manner that is aligned with your brand philosophy, right? So, I must admit, this is one session, because we just had 3 panelists on stage. An hour back, I was wondering how the hell am I going to, fill up 1 hour? And towards the end of it, I was really getting worried as to how am I going to finish it on time. And I'm glad we didn't finish on time. We went 5 minutes beyond, and that kind of indicates the kind of interest that we've had. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mohit, Abhishek, Aishwarya, for those insights. And it's been a personally very insightful session for me.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.